Welcome to another live stream, my friends. Well, guys, honestly, not a great look for Bitcoin. The fact that after 6 full weeks, it finally managed to break a micro lower high on the 4-hour trend. That was a very nice opportunity for the bulls, but the bears very quickly took back control, pushing us to yet another lower low on the trend. The good news for us as traders is that the market remains volatile. There's new opportunities each and every single day inside these markets. And even though I'm bearish, you guys, that didn't stop me from opening a couple long positions on Bitcoin earlier today, and also shared that I was doing so in my private Telegram, plus actually predicted the moment that we were showing some weakness last night, which led to a little bit of a dump, led to a short, leading up to another long position, taking more longs from there. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it's not so much that I am bullish on the market at this point, but just trading levels for what they are. And if that is something that interests you, you want to see more examples how I look at market structure, how I'm pulling fibs, some of my trade signals like that, all sort of that good stuff, you guys. Do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description down below. We've been basically all of this price action that has been happening. Yeah, it's been extremely volatile and unfortunately not the direction that everybody wants to see. But, as traders, this market has been acting quite healthy from a structural point of view. This is really the only little fake out we had where we set a new high here, right? We broke this little bit of structure here. And since that, we actually set a lower low. But that being said, you guys, like I mentioned, I did take a couple of long positions as well. Basically, my reasoning for that was looking at that same Stuber fib. I had already played this 786 basically overnight, hit my first take profit, stopped out at break even on the rest. But then as I just showed there, that when we were in my swing fail pocket, I wanted to take some long exposure basically as an insurance play, if nothing else. I still do have a chunk of my short open from up here. But yeah, I do have a couple of long positions as well at this point. I've taken profits off, some profits off all of these positions. All the stop losses are at a small profit at this point. So I really don't care which way we go. And that's the important thing, you guys, to understand is that, trading isn't about having to be right all the time, but what's more important is having a system that you can basically repeat, right? Having a systematic trade strategy. That's why I love Fibonacci's, for this exact reason that, yeah, even though I was bearish as hell down here, I took those long positions anyways, just because it is a buy level from my strategy. So that's basically why I took that. That's why I'm in a beautiful Aster long. That's why I'm in several positions. So and at this point, I just want to be comfortable, right? I'm willing to accept anything. And that's what we need to understand as traders, is that the market isn't always going to do what we are expecting it to do. So any chance you are given to kind of protect yourself from either scenario, always having a backup plan, just being able to protect yourself from anything when the markets are this volatile. It's a very stress-free position to be in. As either position runs, I just take some more profits as they run, and then, having a stop at break even from there. Really worst case scenario, I take a little bit more profits off these positions. So at this point, I'm excited to go either way. I still think that the bulls are in trouble. Like I said, we did just print this lower low here on the 4-hour, even a candle close below this wick, right? So yeah, we reclaimed that level. That is great to see. That's why we're getting some sort of a bounce here, but that does not mean this is a bullish bounce. And that's why my stop losses are getting bumped up quickly, right? Is because I'm not married to the idea that this needs to be a bottom. If it is, I'm positioned for it now, but I don't think that it is. And if we reverse from here, at least I still got something. But at this point, I'm just expecting this bounce to be a typical sweep of structure and some sort of a reaction, right? That's a very typical thing that happens when we break a structure level like that. We get some sort of a reaction to retest. In this case, it would be resistance, whereas on the 5-minute chart, it was obviously a support setup. But something like this, that would just be a very typical Stuber setup, right? If this was on the 5-minute rather than the 4-hour, I would basically have my market structure like so. And I would be looking for that retracement. I wouldn't be looking to add shorts on the break here. necessarily, because quite often the market just sweeps and breaks levels and then gets some sort of a retest. And most people, that's exactly why most people would start shorting here, is because most people want to play the breakouts, right? But we don't. I mean, honestly, this market cycle, yeah, maybe the last couple market cycles, there was a lot of breakout trading happening and whatnot. But like, especially this cycle, I've noticed that so often when you get those levels breaking, there's some sort of a reaction, right? And that's exactly why I love using Fibonacci strategies like my STUBER fibs, because it's very structured, right? As long as we have that kind of structure, I'm not interested in playing the breakout. I'm looking for some sort of a retracement. So at this point, if the bears are going to remain in full control, I would expect resistance to start basically around 92.5 thousand US dollars. If the bulls can push us above 94.6 thousand, I think there's something to be said there that we could be getting some sort of a reversal to the upside. I'm not necessarily saying that we would be going to all-time highs. I actually think that would be quite unlikely, to be honest. But some sort of a bigger bounce, if we can reclaim that sort of resistance level, that would basically break the MDX Trendmaster on the 4-hour as resistance. It would also invalidate the 115 invalidation level for a typical STUBER and swing fail setup. That's basically my invalidation level. So the fact that those two things are lining up very closely, that makes me think that basically if we go above 94.6K, I'm going to be happy that I'm in those hedge long positions, and I will be long out of my shorts by that point. But yeah, I would be very comfortable holding my longs a lot longer in that case. Maybe not a lot longer. I'd still be taking profits along the way. But I would be comfortable in that position for sure. Another thing, just bringing up the retail long short indicator here. We are seeing some sort of a blip on the retail short. It's trying to bounce a little, or more so the longs are just holding off. But let's actually zoom into the 1 hour, because I have a feeling that our little bounce yesterday drew in a lot of FOMO again. So we can basically see that as soon as retail basically started giving up and they finally stopped adding to the long positions, that's when the shorts started picking up. And notice that's when we recovered. And right now, to me, I mean, honestly, I think that the fact that retail is still basically 78% long, I think it makes sense that at some point they are going to start trying to play this downtrend, and it's going to be too late. So at some point, I wouldn't doubt if the market makers basically end up pushing us higher, as long as retail's starting to FOMO into shorts, basically. I think market makers would in turn basically push us to the upside and bring that FOMO back. Right? Because you know damn well that if we get any sort of a decent recovery, FOMO is going to return to this market so fast. And I don't think it's unreasonable to think that we could bounce to about 100,000 eventually. I don't know how soon or how likely it is, but just basically right now, where this weekly candle lies, where this weekly structure looks like and everything, I just really wouldn't be too surprised to see some sort of a bounce, whether we hit this bigger STUBER pocket first and then get some sort of a retest. It's hard to say exactly how it's going to play out, but either way, I just do not think that all-time highs are around the corner, even if we get some sort of a bounce. Just this reminds me so much of the structure back here. I remember going through it. I remember basically when we broke that level, I started getting very bearish, just like how I feel right now. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this basically turn into a big bear flag, just like this did, right? Even just the start of this one, I guess. We just broke that level, traded sideways for about a month, and then dropped significantly lower. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see something like this for, a month or two and then push lower. Obviously, anything can happen. It's not like I'm trading based on the weekly on its own or anything. I'm just trying to zoom out and keep an open mind for what could be around the corner. And there's just a lot of red flags to me. On the further out I zoom, there's just more and more red flags, basically. And the fact that we're losing such macro structure, And the fact that everyone thinks that the Bitcoin market has been liquidated, like when we got that big liquidation event about a month ago, I keep talking about this one, but the fact that altcoins did have a liquidation event, whereas Bitcoin did not even get close to this liquidation band like it did back in COVID when it touched it perfectly, right? Very different, whereas about $60,000 different. So, but that also ties into my theory that anytime that Bitcoin gets some sort of a bounce and just looks somewhat healthy, I think altcoins are going to be where the bullish plays are to be made, because like I said, altcoins have actually had a liquidation event where a bunch of them got wicked right down to zero pretty much. And if Bitcoin has topped, again, that's a big if, right? I'm willing to be wrong on that theory. But if it has, usually the end phase of a market cycle is when Bitcoin tops, but then whenever it finds support, basically altcoins start doing their thing. And that's when altcoins can actually gain some momentum at the end of the cycle and then go into a full bear market after that. Obviously, this market cycle doesn't need to play out the same as previous market cycles, like the last two, for example. This cycle is quite different, so anything can happen. Just a few things to keep on the radar, basically. So yeah, looking at my Bitcoin long positions for now, like I said, my short position still has a break-even stop. My long positions right now, notice we have hit my 0.5 fib. I actually did take a little bit of profits closer to my 786 as well, just because we dipped so low. Quite often we won't make it to the 0.5 and we'll do something like that. So just to protect myself and make sure I pay myself a little bit on this position, I took a little bit here. But yeah, ended up hitting my next target at the 0.5 fib. Next target is just a little bit below the 214 fib. And if that happens, basically we're going to see if my short's still holding on at that point. I would actually be considering taking a new short, even if that one gets stopped out, because if I look at the 4 hour, that would be this structure, basically. That would be starting at around 92.6, 92.5, somewhere in there. And where is this target is 92.8, right? So very close to that level, basically. And that's the whole thing. The 214 target is basically the opposite 786. Very close to it anyways. So yeah, like I said, I wish I had better news, but the fact that Bitcoin set another lower low, it's not a great look. I would be happy to see this invalidated. I'm positioned for either scenario at this point. But yeah, either way, I'm just excited about this volatility. It's been a lot of fun trading this. Hopefully those of you guys who have been tuning into my live streams, and especially those of you guys in my Telegram, I hope you guys are not only surviving, but you guys are just thriving, crushing it, killing this trend. Because like I said, as far as looking at very basic market structure, and I don't get wrapped up in the fundamentals and headlines and announcements and social media and all that sort of stuff. You guys know I like to stick to the charts, and the results speak for themselves. I mean, everybody has been on social media has been so bullish ever since all-time highs. And I mean, the retail long short, the fact that retail is so long heavy and has been for a long time now, over a month, that just goes to show how many people are just kind of getting this trend completely wrong because they are too focused on fundamentals and things like that. And I'm not saying fundamentals don't matter, but until the chart verifies that they matter, that's the only time that they do. If the price is going down and the fundamentals are very bullish, that doesn't mean the chart is wrong, right? It means the fundamentals at that time do not matter, and market structure is going to override that. So yeah, fundamentals for investing, sure, but as far as trading, I would just much rather look at a few colorful lines, play some basic market structure, and trade the charts for what they are. And if you guys appreciate that, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button. Appreciate you guys being here. So thank you so much. Those of you guys, so many familiar faces in here. I see you guys every single day. Seriously appreciate you guys. And those of you who are new here, if you do appreciate just looking at the charts for what they are, do yourselves a favor and do me a favor and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Hurley, I did mention I would look at Ethereum. So Ethereum's very much in the same place as Bitcoin. I actually just mapped this out on the 4 hour before starting my stream here, but still very much the same thing, right? We have this little low here and a lower low. That means this is our confirmed lower high. So basically, as long as Ethereum is below 3173 approximately, that's basically our lower high structure right now on the 4 hour on this micro trend. But a little wiggle room past that, and just like Bitcoin, right, we have the MDX Trendmaster resistance lining up very close with my 115 invalidation, and that would be basically above 32.25 approximately. I like to leave a little bit of wiggle room there, even 32.30 maybe, just to be safe. But yeah, if it can break above that, I would have doubts in a short position at that point. I would be looking at cutting my losses, basically, especially if we end up breaking above all this. But so far, there is a valid downtrend on the 4 hour right here. So I guess it depends where you're in from, because it's a big range, right? So as long as you're not over leveraged, overexposed, and you're able to ride it out, like on a setup like this, I would be more so favoring laddering into something like this and trying to get into something of that average entry more kind of in this zone, basically. I guess it depends how you were looking at it, though. Like if you, as far as 4 hour structure, that's what I would be looking at. If I was entering a position based on the 5 minute, my invalidation would be based on the 5 minute structure I'm looking at, basically. Solana, I mentioned in yesterday's stream, you guys, Solana actually had something very similar, right? We had this low and we had this lower low, and I pointed out this lower high on the trend. And we actually did get a STUBER setup out of that. Right? Hit my second target there, the 214, which once again, that is basically the opposite 786. Notice that fib pocket filled perfectly pretty much. Not that that one's valid though, to be fair, it can play out, but it doesn't have the same structure because it hasn't broke that lower high, right? So I'd feel better about it if this high was actually up a little higher. But it is funny to see how those levels react, right? So often you hit that 214 or the 786, 886, and you see some sort of reaction from those fibs. But yeah, Solana, that's basically the similar looking downtrend. Basically, I would say the bulls need to push above $146 to kind of prove themselves. Just breaking above 143 would be a great start, right? Just taking out this this lower high structure, basically. That would be a great start. Troll, I've mentioned this one a few times. High risk, low market cap, right? $38.5 million market caps, and a meme coin. So it's very risky, obviously. But as far as basic market structure goes, I'm really wanting to see this thing end up breaking this lower high structure on the daily chart, because this has been a massive downtrend and it's not dead. It's not a dead community. There's still a lot of holders, all that sort of stuff. And it's, to me, if it ends up breaking this lower high structure on the daily chart, I think that has potential to go on a serious run. Yet to be decided. We still obviously have to break that structure, but even where it's finding support right now, just this order block from basically before we pushed through all-time highs last time and ended up going absolutely parabolic, right? So I'm glad to see that level sort of being respected right now. But yeah, first things first, we really need to break that lower high on the downtrend. I hope you are all doing fantastic. I hope you guys are surviving these markets. I hope you're just absolutely crushing it, guys. I don't care which way the markets go. The thing is, like, you can be bullish and wrong, but still make money, just like you can be bearish and wrong and still make money. At the end of the day, all that matters is having a systematic trade strategy you can repeat over and over. And obviously, if you want more examples of my personal trade strategies, how I pull fibs, how I look at market structure, all that sort of good stuff, obviously, you know what to do. Scan the QR code, get in the Telegram. But yeah, how are you all doing? Let me know in the chat. Gravy Train, awesome trading, Stu. Thank you. You're in the Telegram, if I'm not mistaken, so you've seen some of those calls lately. Yeah, adding to the breakout, Mr. FOMO into the short. Yeah, that Mr. FOMO, he can be a real jerk sometimes. Looks like retail is buying. It's tough to say. If you really zoom in, retail longs are high, but it does look like the shorts are trying to start something here. It's way too early to say if they're actually going to get any sort of momentum. But even just let's do this. Let's look at market structure on the short indicator, because generally the market moves the same direction as retail shorts. And currently it would be at a nice support level. And if we can get to resistance levels and basically, well, if retail starts shorting into resistance, that's basically what would give us fuel to break through resistance, basically. So it really depends what retail starts doing, what the market makers want to do to them, basically. What is good question. What is the lowest percent I have seen the MDX retail long? Let's go to the daily. And retail long has been, well, down around 30%. And notice when retail was very low on the retail long side of things, and when they were very short heavy, notice that's been our entire bull market, basically, right? We were very much in the red here, and we just continued trending higher because retail was basically considering it a sucker's rally. They didn't want to FOMO in, so they kept shorting instead the whole way up. Just like now, since we saw retail FOMO basically peak, or basically, sorry, that's where the FOMO kicked in, right? Retail started longing very aggressively into that all-time high breakout, and that gave us that liquidation event that gave us, the market makers, a bunch of liquidity to push the price to the downside. And the whole way down, retail has just been longing every dip they can, being wrong about the trend again, right? I've helped a lot. Just have to not overtrade. Yeah, overtrading can be, that's the thing, right? Stick to setups that you actually have valid entries, invalidations, and take profit levels all laid out ahead of time. And if you don't have all those things in order, then you don't actually have a valid trade setup, basically, right? Oh, nice. Love to hear it, Gravy Train. Thank you for that. I'm going to add it to my testimony list. But yeah, seriously appreciate having all of you guys here. Thank you so much for joining me for these live streams. Like I said many times, I like to try and be the voice of reason in this market because everybody is so emotional on social media and just flip-flopping opinions and, just pure panic, pure greed. I just want to look at the charts for what they are. More so for people who actually want to be trading based on charts. Investing is one thing, fundamentals matter for investing, and I feel very differently about investing. But when it comes to actually trading, hence the name of this channel, This is just all about trading, looking at market structure and just looking at the charts for what they are. So if you guys do appreciate that, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you have not. And yeah, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So one last time, just to make sure, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And like I said earlier, for those of you who are interested in just seeing more examples of some of my favorite trade strategies, some of my trade setup ideas, how I use fibs, how I use market structure, just want more of my thoughts on the market in general, do yourselves a favor, get in my Telegram channel by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the description down below. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.